Welcome back to the Day After Podcast, an extension of the YouTube channel The Jestour. I'm John.
Do you open all the Day After podcasts that way?
No, maybe. If it catches on.
I'm Haley.
Okay. And welcome to a Day After review of Raphael Bob Waxberg's 5 seasons of Bojack Horseman, a Netflix original series that ran for 5 seasons and is apparently being picked up for a 6th.
Yeah.
This is go ahead.
This is going to be a weird follow-up to, what are the other Day After podcasts? Teen Titans and the Powerpuff Girls and the Lion King and Bojack Horseman.
Here's the thing. This is my second playthrough. You know, this is my wife's first watching.
Yes.
And when I went to bed after watching 3 episodes, I laid in my bed and I'm like, this is not for you, honey. This is Family Guy if every character was Brian Griffin. And you went, oh. No. But that was the first season. We'll talk about the first season because one thing that I have to recommend to people is that this show started out as something else.
Yeah, I would definitely agree there.
It's you get past the first season, it does pick up and then run away with its premise. Unlike other shows where we kind of break down the characters, I feel like every season instead is its own kind of character because given the style of release of Netflix, they drop the entire season at once. So they write them all at once, and then you don't have to deal with episode by episode structures. It's a very chuggable show.
Yeah, well, and that's how normal TV shows are written, a season at a time. But
yeah, not a lot to get into, but we'll give you a brief synopsis, starting with Bojack Horseman is a man voiced by Will Arnett, who, thank God, I don't know anything about what his voice actor does because. The one sin the show makes, and it's not the show's fault, is that you will not be able to unhear these people's voices. The girls less so, but Will Arnett, you're only gonna hear Bojack. I'm worried. He's an alcoholic former '90s star of a sitcom, and he's the token anti-hero, but he doesn't make it easy for you to root for the anti-hero.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like season 1 is the weakest season because...
Well, as you mentioned, the show started out with being and you can feel free to correct me here, but it starts out as criticizing Hollywood.
Oh yeah, it's a very much an indictment of the shallow emptiness of Hollywood. And that really drags in the first 8 or 9 episodes.
Yeah, and it feels like it's not a concept I've seen a lot of before, but watching it, like, I get the constant feeling that, something like this has been done, and it's probably been done better.
And I'm glad that it decided it wanted to tackle other subject matter, because that's where it excels. This takes place, reason that it took me so long to watch this, is that it takes place in what is called a human zoo. Where half the people are animals.
Well, they're anthropomorphic, though.
Yeah, half of them are anthropomorphic animals, and half of them are real people.
And it's kind of 7 Deadly Sins, which I'm assuming probably coming up here. But in that it throws you into a world and just kind of expects you to accept what's going on.
Yeah, don't ask questions why there are people.
And that's fine. Like, that's okay. It leads to one of my favorite parts about the show in all of its seasons. The little, like, sprinklings of humor that come from the fact that some of these characters are animals.
The cutaway animal jokes, like the worm doing the worm outside the office building.
Or like the turtles doing a very slow cheers.
It's a lot of fun, like, little side jokes. Bojack's oldest friend is a pink cat named Princess Carolyn,
who is my surprise favorite character.
Holy shit! It's like you did weird ramps and declinations on these characters.
Yeah, so I watched John watch this kind of in the background while I was playing video games or whatever, and I got a kind of brief glimpse at some of these characters, and I pretty much lined up who I was gonna like and who I was gonna hate, and I did not expect to like Princess Carolyn. Oh my god! She is the best.
She is the robotic businesswoman who wants to have a life, but she's poured so much into this career that she's worried about pursuing other things. She's been an agent for Bojack for, 20 years. I should have done the math, but...
Yeah, and they start off as together, right?
Yeah, they're dating for a while, and they don't date. Man, you're going to deal with a lot of bullshit here.
I like Princess Carolyn because like she's every self-motivated career woman of every sitcom who finds out she can love, except she doesn't find out she can love. She just kind of deals with life on her own way.
That's been dealt with worse, I think. Yeah.
So it's so refreshing to see that character played straight, and it's just, she's just so much fun to watch.
Oh, God.
She's not trash like some of the other people.
Bojack is worried that his fame is waning since he hasn't been on a TV show since the 90s. And so Princess Carolyn hires a ghostwriter in the form of half Vietnamese American Diane Nguyen, who comes in to write this new book for her. You have an experience with Diane.
So I can't give anything away, but I thought I was gonna really, really like Diane. She's kind of, she's that token, like, ultra feminist, I'm gonna make the world better one woman at a time, which can be played very well as, like, a strong, independent woman thing, and at every, like, Diane has very good moments and she's fine, but at every turn, like, every now and then she does something, or I see something in her that just fucking grinds my gears in the worst fucking way.
I saw you deteriorate over Diane, and that was really interesting to watch.
I was so ready to like her, but oh my god, she's the reason I hated feminists in college.
I remember, okay, I want to make like a meme out of it. Like, episode 1, Diane's kind of nice. Episode 5, fuck you, Diane.
Yeah, fuck you, Diane.
I think those are actual words you said, but
Probably.
We'll get to him later. Bojack's foil is a peppy, blonde Labrador named Mr. Peanutbutter, he's probably one of the biggest reasons people struggle to get into the show, and you're like, his name's really Mr. Peanutbutter?
Yeah, and that's fine.
But he's the opposite. He's dumb and therefore permanently happy.
Yeah, he brings some very much needed levity to the show. Because Bojack is just this swirl of self-hate, deterioration. Neither of them are good characters, which is what I love. Bojack on his own is awful. Mr. Peanutbutter on his own is awful.
I think that a character is bad until you do something with him, and season 1 struggles with that a lot.
Yeah, and he has good moments. He brings some lighthearted levity to the show. You get a lot of times the feeling that he's really kind of standing around with nothing to do.
Yeah.
Which is my biggest criticism.
Later in the series, that's fine. The show is rounded out by a gag character, Aaron Paul's own Todd Chavez.
And I didn't watch Breaking Bad like you did.
Oh, so. Okay, no, it's not as big a problem as Will Arnett, but Aaron Paul, fresh off of Breaking Bad's ending, he said, I want to voice just I want to say dipshit. Todd's a nice guy, but he's the slacker who doesn't appear to be doing anything. He's the Roger from American Dad they don't know what to do with.
Right, yeah, and he's kind of like Mr. Peanutbutter in that he honestly feels like he's standing around with nothing to do, but it's different than that. Todd's so excited to be standing there doing nothing.
Hooray!
And yeah, he's the other comic relief that added so much lightheartedness to the show.
Yeah, the general plot of season 1 is that Bojack is upset that his fame is waning. He'd like to write a memoir to show everybody how great he is and be respected and loved again.
Yeah, and he wants to go on the heels of Secretariat.
Yeah.
His hero.
Yeah, and he wrote a memoir, and that's his hero. And he just, I'm going to hire this lady, and I'm going to write a memoir. And they go about that. And one thing that we're going to do with the structure here is that every season has, I'm going to say 4 episodes that show up in every season. And we'll break it down, starting with episode 11. Fans of Buffy the Vampire Slayer know that the 7th episode in the series is where it gets weird with the musical episode, and I'm not... Okay, never mind. The point is, the 11th episode in every series is the one that gets really dark and serious and allows for 1 episode of denouement. And I feel like the 11th episode, it was a bad thing that's the first episode I showed you.
Oh, is that the drug one?
Because in an effort to finish, he thinks he's too good for Diane and says, I can go about my own adventure. I can write my own memoir, and they can't. Mm-mm. So he and Todd and Sarah Lynn, his co-star, take a shit ton of Ritalin.
Okay, so Sarah Lynn is not his co-star. Like, let's back up there, because
you're
writing off a very fucked up part of the show.
Oh my god, okay. In his show, Horsing Around, he agrees to be the legal guardian of 3 orphans who don't have parents. And one of them is Sarah Lynn, who was a very young little child star who grew up to do the Miley Cyrus thing, try to be famous by being sexy and do a lot of drugs.
Yeah. And so, and Bojack, like, every time they're together, which they hang out, which is kind of weird. I really expected to have more problems with that than I do. But when they hang out, like, you get the idea, like, Bojack has been a massive father figure in this real girl, Sarah Lynn's life.
Which is upsetting down the road.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah, they go on a big drug trip, which I love mushroom sambas.
I don't.
It's the drug. Okay, it can be fun, but in a show that is so close at this point in season 1 to being a big story show, doing a drug episode, there are way better drug episodes in the series.
Yeah.
Okay, and that... I want it to be better, and, well, that's the worst of the 5 episode 11s.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. The show does this thing where it wants to tackle a current event, 1 episode per series. This is one of the worst. In the 2nd episode of the series, they're like, okay, we got picked up for a pilot. What do we want? Let's do an episode where he gets into a spat with a U.S. Army, Navy, or U.S. Navy SEAL.
Oh.
And he wants the muffins back.
God, I can't believe how much of season 1 I've just forgot about.
Yeah. it definitely the worst of the 5 seasons, and that's not your fault.
No.
And it comes off as really muddled. I'm like, oh shit, like, how am I supposed to feel about the troops? Meanwhile, they take much more nuanced stances at different current events.
Yeah, well, Thoughts and Prayers is the one I was thinking of.
Oh,
I'm assuming we'll get there.
We will get there. It's not very good.
Yeah. The Navy SEAL one is all like, oh, Bojack hates the troops. Isn't that awful?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody turned that into an episode. Okay.
Well, like, we still don't know how they feel or how we should feel.
Yeah.
Anyway, we lead back to... the concept episode. There weren't many concept episodes. The closest one we get is Downer Ending.
Which is the drug one?
Yeah, it's the Mushroom Samba. And
okay.
Yeah.
We already talked about that. So.
Yeah, all right. Let's go on. In every season, they don't have to do this, but Raphael said you get 1 F-bomb the entire season. And it makes it so much more powerful. And in season 1, you kind of learn about his long string of shitty relationships.
Yeah.
Starting with his gay friend who produced Horsing Around named Herb Kazaz.
Yes.
And that's one of the first... That's the love potion number 9 of Bojack Horseman, is when you find out, like... Hey,
love potion number 9 being a Rick and Morty episode, not the 80s thing.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay. He learns that, you were a shitty person. I got cancer. I got fired for being gay because in the 80s that wasn't okay.
And you didn't stand up for me. And you have to live with that.
And I'm dying. But don't you want to forgive me now that you're dying? No.
No.
You have to live with the fact that a man died and he's not okay with that.
Yeah, and I do really like that. Herb could have been just Bojack again, which would have sucked. They were really, really refreshing with how they handled Herb. Does Herb die in season 1?
He is close to death in season 1. You're at his funeral.
In season 2?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, that episode in season 1 with Herb, to me is probably the best episode of season 1.
Yeah.
Just because there's less Bojack in it.
And
I don't hate Bojack as a character, it's just he's a lot. And I think one of the reasons this series does so well is if you know people who have been addicts, you're going to see a lot of things you recognize.
It's a very different show. We both have addicts in our life. Mm-hmm. We won't go into that.
No.
I will, though. My wife, Jesus. My mom is a recovering alcoholic of nearly 20 years, and I was too young to see some of the tendencies that addicts have.
Yeah.
But I've been around my fair share, and this is a really well-written show for that.
But in season 1, it's not. In season 1, it's all about this has-been actor trying to not be a terrible person.
And when they decide that that's when they want to tackle, when they decide people responded positively to this and we want a 2nd season, he's like, wait, stop, I have better ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, so the 2nd season, it hits more of its stride.
Yep. At the end of season 1, they get picked up for a Secretariat movie which is super cute to Bojack because that was not only his lifelong hero, but also he gets cast to play a Secretariat in his first...
Kind of, in a roundabout way.
In his big, serious movie role, and that is really special to him. And I did not know how dark the show was going to get, but back then I'm like, yes, oh, thank goodness, he's had good stuff happen to him. He hasn't done garbage yet.
One of my favorite random things about season 2, the Secretariat season, is there's actually a Secretariat movie.
Oh, there is, isn't there?
Yeah. So I was like, oh, I was expecting it to, like, I expected it to make more jokes about that, and it doesn't at all. But yeah, there is totally a Secretariat movie that exists in our world.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with Bojack Horseman.
Yeah, so he's getting that made. It's just... Movie people are shitty, lots of rewrites.
Oh, the director, though, is awesome.
The
lady director of Secretariat, the movie.
Yes, Kelsey.
What's her butt? Yeah.
Kelsey. A very weird lady who...
Yeah, but she's fascinating. And I was sick of Diane.
She's just she thinks Todd's the cutest fucking person ever.
And she's a lesbian.
Yeah, and because Todd doesn't do a ton in season 2, because he's Todd. Princess Carolyn is getting a little sick of working at her agency, and she decides,
is this the one with the bunny?
This is the one with the rabbit, yes.
Okay, the bunny, okay.
Rabinowitz is just a well-written dickhead.
Yeah, he's just a well-written, horrible person.
Stamp 1 for yes, stamp 2 for oh my god, yes. And he's just like, come join me on this new adventure. And
he signs this deal to open up a new agency with Princess Carolyn.
In her name.
Yeah, in her name. And then, as she agrees, he also makes this promise that they're going to get together. But problem is he's married.
God, that sucks.
His wife having a baby, and he rehashes on both of those deals before the season is over. But again, love the Princess Carolyn moment. Everything that was signed is in her name, so she's like, no, fuck you. Goodbye.
She just owns that. That's awesome.
And she just has the agency for the rest of the season.
It doesn't work out well, but
it doesn't work out.
Good
But she fucking just said screw you to this guy, and it's awesome. God, I love Princess Carolyn.
I love it. Mr. Peanutbutter. We didn't know what to do with him, so we just brought J.D. Salinger back to life, and we gave him a game show called Hollywood Stars and Celebrities. What do they know? Do they know things? Let's find out.
The celebrity quiz show that Bojack, of course, has to go on because that's what this show is about.
That's what the show do, and it's a perfect creative exercise for what Mr. Peanutbutter is, who's just, I want to be fun. I don't want to have to think too hard.
Yep.
I want everybody to like me.
Yep, and that's, like, I get what they're going for, but the show constantly reminds you with Mr. Peanutbutter how fucking toxic and horrible that is in a partner.
Yeah. Speaking of which, well, I don't know how Diane and Peanutbutter got together.
Yeah, they don't really explain. Well, I mean, there is an episode about that.
Yes, I think there is.
I don't remember it.
But
is that bad?
But Diane is getting this itching feeling that I want to go do big things. I want to cover big stories.
Yeah, she has to be the ultimate best thing.
Oh God, no! I like Diane. Listen to my wife, because it really helps to have two people that have different opinions in the room. She takes a small stint in the fictional state of Cordovia with a really shitty white leopard who thinks that saving the world is all about him.
Yeah.
And she realizes, oh, this kind of sucks. This is not what I wanted.
Yeah.
To get happiness, I don't have to be doing the most noble thing of all time.
Yeah, and you don't have to... the season 5... The episode we just watched with Diane explains it better, so I'll go into my issues with Diane later.
Oh my God.
I don't want to talk about it right now.
Moving on. Episode 11 is really upsetting because all this time you've been getting hints that he and his late friend Herb Kazaz... Bojack and his late friend Herb Kazaz were friends with this deer named Charlotte.
Yes.
And he decides, he wants to, when he's making this movie, he wants to go back and be a part of that life and try to have a normal life. So he just dicks off on the set of Secretariat, leaves for like 2 months.
And he just completely leaves and goes down to New Mexico to go see Charlotte. And one of my favorite episodes of the series.
Escape from LA?
Well, I don't know, the one where he goes to New Mexico.
Kyle and the kids. To find that he's married and is really fucked up.
Yeah, and so he goes down to New Mexico, finds out that his friend, this Charlotte, is now married. And so he can't have the life that he wanted to have with her, even though he tries to talk her into it.
But the good thing is you have an attractive underage daughter.
That is, okay, no, that doesn't become a point later. The point is she has a daughter.
That is almost exactly like her.
And then he agrees to take her to prom because she doesn't have anybody.
And pretends to be a really kind of shitty influence.
Yeah, and almost sleeps with her.
And...
yeah, he almost sleeps with a 17-year-old girl. Like, say what you want about Bojack. Like, good God. Charlotte catches them in Bojack's boat, which I won't go into.
Speaking of which... Charlotte, this side character, gets the second F-bomb in the series, which is fair.
Yeah.
You catch your underage daughter with a man you used to really respect. So get the fuck out of LA or New Mexico and don't ever come back.
Oh, okay.
That's...
and Bojack sees what he does, and he sees what he almost did, and leaves.
Yikes.
And you see the daughter once again in passing, but she never comes up again.
Again, not a ton of concept episodes. I'm going to give it to the game show, where he and Daniel Radcliffe...
oh, is that the fight between him and Mr. Peanutbutter?
On the set of his game show,
yes,
Hollywood Stars and Celebrities. What do they know? Do they know things? Let's find out.
That was absolutely amazing because it actually got Mr. Peanutbutter to do something besides just stare at the camera with his tongue out.
Oh, Bojack wants to get real? All right, guys, let's get real. And one of the producers stops Bojack in the middle of their fight during the commercial break. It says, hey, you need to wrap this up. It's like, I don't know, man. In real life, you can't really wrap things up. I don't know. I tell you what, I was on a sitcom for 9 years. Wrapping things up in 30 minutes, that's kind of what I do.
Yeah. And they're fighting about the fact that Bojack and Diane kissed. Diane and Mr. Peanutbutter are married. I don't know if we ever actually mentioned that.
Yeah.
They are married, and Diane and Bojack kissed, and Mr. Peanutbutter's not happy about that. And they have it out on set, and then they make up on set.
And it's just, it's a really good back and forth. And I found out that's the episode that made me realize that the show is at its best when it's having its character-driven fights. Yes.
Or just even like character-driven moments.
Yes.
Because not all the good character moments are fights.
The current event episode is a weird one because this happens a lot. Hank After Dark focuses on a Bill Cosby-styled controversy with an anthropomorphic hippopotamus who has done some bad things to women.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that Diane is convinced that she needs to bring down this monster.
Yes, because she's the superhero that every woman needs. God fucking damn it, I hate her.
Wow. Jesus.
She has good moments, she really does, but she, like... some of the other things that she does, when she does good things, it almost seems out of character.
And pretty much everybody else on the show is like, you're going to put so many people out of work if you go over to this one person trying to bring them down.
But I'm right. That's her argument.
We'll get there. It's season 3. Secretariat has wrapped, and it's turned out to be a great hit. So we're going to begin the Oscar campaign to...
get an Oscar. Oh, and you get Hispanic Oscar lady.
Anna Spanakopita is her name. Hispanic Oscar lady. Oh.
She's fun.
Yeah. Gosh. You really get to talk about Bojack and Carolyn's like really close relationship. There's an episode that I didn't think was very good the first time. It's excellent the second time. It's where Bojack attempts to fire Carolyn. Yes. In that Italian restaurant. And it's a bottle episode. It takes place in the restaurant. So they have a lot of really dialogue-driven scenes about their relationship.
Yeah. About how it's weird that I dated my agent for a while and then she still found me work.
And then I believed in you, but I didn't. But you were shitty. But I wasn't really shitty because I believed in you. I urge you to go watch the show. Like, it's well written if you can get past the first season. Oh, damn it. Diane and Peanutbutter continue to have some weird fights. Yeah. Specifically around a 2-episode stint of Mr. Peanutbutter's brother, Weird Al, voiced by Weird Al.
His name is Captain Peanutbutter.
Thank you, god damn it. Captain Peanutbutter is very sad now because he has a possibly life-threatening illness.
Even though he doesn't tell his own brother about that.
Because he's supposed to be this upbeat Labrador, and...
They go up to Labrador, Canada, by the way, where everybody who lives there is some kind of Labrador. And I think it's fucking hilarious.
It's so good.
Again, just those, I love those little sprinkles of humor that they add to the world.
It is nice.
But he just, Captain Peanutbutter proceeds to be weird around Diane, like, consistently. And...
She thinks it's because Diane has recently had an abortion.
Yeah.
And that is, I guess, the big thing that Diane does in this season.
Yeah, is get the abortion, yeah. Which, from listening to you describe that, or, like, hearing it while I was playing video games or whatever, I thought it was Princess Carolyn who had the abortion.
Oh, no!
So I was like, oh, yeah, when's Princess Carolyn gonna get her abortion? And then I found out it was Diane's baby. It doesn't impact anything, but that happened.
Oh, man, that's upsetting. We'll get to that in a second, but... Captain Peanutbutter's got a twisted spleen, which is a real fucking thing that dogs get.
Yeah, I forget exactly what it's called, but it's very similar to bloat, in which part of the stomach gets wrapped around intestines or whatever.
That's neither yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure that is a real thing dogs can actually get.
Yeah. In between really deep abortion-heavy episodes, Todd decides, I'm gonna actually start a company. What if... And this is when you get to meet his old girlfriend, Emily.
Yes.
Who is just very excited to be with him, but he was kind of non-committal, and we don't know why. And
yeah,
he's like, let's start a company where women, there are only women drivers for a taxi company, so women don't have to feel weird. So they go about that, and he and Emily have this really wholesome moment where they just build a company and an empire. And...
Yeah, and then they have like really good chemistry together, and you kind of see what. Drew them together, and number one, the idea is just awesome. The fact that you have a female-only Uber service,
and that falls apart in classic Todd fashion, but
because he thinks it should be for men too.
But something's not right about Todd, and we'll discuss that in chapter 4. Right now, though, we have to tackle something we haven't talked about the entire season, which is maybe the focus. Sarah Lynn has been spending this entire season trying to get sober.
Yes.
And I don't think Bojack respects that.
The placement of these episodes is so weird. I thought this occurred way later.
Yeah, this is the season 3 episode is that in Bojack's attempt to be a better person and then failing spectacularly at it.
In true Bojack fashion.
Yeah, he decides, I need to get drunk to forget about my problems, and he fucking does. And they go on this massive bender that's really difficult to watch because it involves very large swaths of empty time.
Sarah Lynn, by the way, has been trying to get sober for like a few months now. Like, she's been completely off. She's been through rehab and everything. And when Bojack decides to get drunk and forget about his problems, she decides to join him. So you made a completely sober girl go on a bender with you. And get ridiculously high.
And that results at the end of episode 11 as an overdose. And that's really fucked up because in an interview with Raphael Bob Waxberg, the creator, he said, with every season, we try to see, we ask ourselves, can we make Bojack irredeemable?
Yeah.
How close can we get? And
so at the end of that episode, they're sitting in the planetarium and it's off screen, but Bojack just like calls her name. She calls Sarah Lynn's name and she doesn't ever respond. And the next episode, you find out she's dead.
That's so fucking upsetting. Oh. God, there's a lot of upsetting shit. That being the episode 11, the other one thing that I want to talk about while it's on my mind is Todd is not a breakable character. So he's often a very carefree, whimsical character.
Yeah, he doesn't take life too seriously.
And when he breaks, you've never seen him break at Bojack. And he provided the fodder for what became the musical remix that made me want to watch this show.
Right on.
Please click on the link in the corner to go visit Chet Rio's remix, You Need to Be Better.
Yeah, and this episode is especially poignant for me because of the end of season 2, where Bojack and Todd decide to be friends, even though they've been really shitty and it's been really hard for them. They had this really like poignant moment with this big finale boat chase scene. And so he and Todd was like, I'm the one who stuck with you through everything. And Bojack it's the first time Bojack ever recognizes that. And so to have that completely turned around with this episode,
it's
is chilling.
There's an old adage that says, because when you fuck up, your dog is the last one to leave you, man's best friend.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you fucked up. So when Todd breaks, you realize you were in some deep shit.
Yeah, but he doesn't though, because he doesn't ever change.
Todd, I think it's a long time before they get back together.
Yeah, but Bojack makes Todd is the one, and this is another thing of can we make Bojack irredeemable? Todd is the one. He's like, I stood by you. I was the last person who believed in you. You pushed everybody else away, and now I'm finally pushed away. And Bojack doesn't change.
You fucked my girlfriend. You ruined my company. You can't stop. You can't keep blaming the shitty things that happen to you on your shitty upbringing, on the alcohol, on the drugs.
It's you. You are all the things that are wrong with you. And again, Chet Rio's song does that beautifully.
Honestly, they say in YouTube, don't give people a reason to stop watching your shit. Please, after this, go watch that. It's amazing.
That. It's awesome.
It's the reason I started watching this show.
Yeah, it's so good. And I love that poignant line that I think more people need to hear. You can't keep doing shitty things, then feel bad about yourself. Like, that makes it okay. Ugh. So good.
All right.
Season 3 is where the show really starts to getting to be the addict season. That's when it really begins to kind of change. From, doesn't Hollywood suck too? No, like a real poignant human drama starring a horse.
We discussed it earlier. The current event episode deals with abortion this season.
Yeah.
A dolphin superstar who is a real life count. No, she's a real life counter. Sextina Aquafina is based on, I think, an actual star. I think her name is Aquafina. Anyway, she's gotten pregnant. Like, what do we do? And some people are obsessed with, okay, we got to keep this under wraps. And Diane is like, wait, if you're getting an abortion, let's make this about women's rights.
Okay.
And she goes about, you can be brave, you can be powerful. And in classic Diane fashion, her good message spirals the hell out of control. And she decides, I'm going to have an abortion live on TV. And that's beyond fucked up.
Yes.
It's in the middle.
Highly traumatic for some people watching.
And this is, yes.
Gosh dang it, Diane has something to say. We're going to get that out.
In her defense, wow. in her defense, that is, she did find out that she was pregnant the episode before.
The Aquafina episode.
Yes, and that was different for her.
Yeah. So you have Diane, who's terrified of getting this abortion and who she's going to tell and everything. And then on the flip side of that, you have this pop star who Diane is urging to make her abortion public, so other women don't have to go through that.
But so she doesn't get fired.
Yes.
Which is, people with ulterior motives make me crazy.
Yeah.
But Mike, you weren't here. I showed that episode to Mike, and I think the episode works because of its absurdity. And Aquafina writes a song about getting an abortion.
Yeah, it's very graphic.
It's graphic and gross. And at the end, she goes, Diane, you don't really think I'm actually asking people to get an abortion. It's satirical. Getting an abortion is scary, and people don't want to talk about it. And if I help people who are in a bad situation feel less bad, that's great.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
So they did spin that well. I won't talk about it long because you don't like it that much. The concept episode is season 3's Fish Out of Water, where he's going to an underwater film festival, and there's no dialogue for most of it, which is fine. My wife doesn't really have the same appreciation for slapstick physical humor that I do.
Well, and I don't get why that episode is there.
They can like to do concept episodes, but I could see why it wouldn't grind on people. A lot of people like it.
But why is it there? What is it? How does it further the story?
Because he finds out that he tries to make amends to Kelsey. He tries to be a good person. Moving on.
Pause.
Yes.
Is this the season where Diane stays at his house?
Season 3 was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can we mention that before we're done with season 3?
Okay. One thing that we neglected to mention, and Haley wants to bring it up.
Yeah, so Diane and Mr. Peanutbutter are married, and they have fights, they get back together, they have fights, they get back together, typical married person stuff. I forget the context of why this happens.
She decides that I don't want to be in Cordovia anymore.
And she goes home, but instead of going home to Mr. Peanutbutter, she instead goes and lives at Bojack's house for months, telling her husband that she is still in Cordovia. And so you get all this back and forth, and she's there for quite a few episodes, just being a lazy asshole.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sorry, I don't know what else you say about Diane. Absolutely nothing on earth will make that okay for me. Will make what she did okay. And that whole mess ends with her going to a restaurant. Mr. Peanutbutter sees her there, and he just agrees to kind of forget about it, which I think is stupid of him, but it fits his character. But I don't... To lie to somebody for that long, and granted, Bojack's a fucking idiot too, because he lets her get away with it, but Bojack is gonna Bojack. But, like, and Diane has some really good poignant moments throughout the season that we'll get to my favorite episode of hers later, but I don't know that anything will make that okay for me. To sit there and lie to somebody and to be a general burden on somebody, especially when that somebody's going through a hard time, I don't like it.
I'm sorry. Because we're going to be talking about season 4 more than I think any other season, we're going to go backwards. We're going to go in ascending order of importance. Todd has decided he's asexual.
Yes.
Which is a really interesting thing because I appreciate it as a member of the general public that I learned a lot of shit about people that don't have sex.
Yeah.
I met a person in college who claimed to be asexual, and I thought it was just an edgy thing, but like I did learn a lot about people and how you can want to bang and not want to bang, and then want to have a romantic partner and not want to have a romantic partner.
Yeah, he goes to like these asexual meetups, like it's this group of asexuals who get together, and one thing they constantly reiterate is just because you are asexual does not mean you are aromantic. So there are people who are asexual who are in relationships. And it's fascinating to watch Todd kind of branch out into people that aren't Bojack.
That's wild. Yeah, Todd
or Mr. Peanutbutter.
He gets his own development. That's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Good job.
And he's not just standing around doing nothing. He's like learning about himself and in a way that's teaching the audience too, and that's really nice.
I mean, oh god. Mr. Peanutbutter decided he wants to run for governor of the fucking state of California.
This is prime example of what are you doing?
What do we do with this dog? And it's so weird that there's a subtext of focus where his campaign manager is his first wife.
Katrina.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's upsetting, and it's upsetting to Diane because I'm your third wife. Fuck off.
And also, there are millions of people in my house, and I hate people.
That leads to, it's the breaking point of their eventual divorce at the end of lots of angry sex.
Yes, that's always weird that they have this weird little moment where they're constantly getting mad at each other and then fucking.
Yeah, what the fuck?
So weird. He has hairy tits.
Does he have hairy tits?
He has
furry tits.
He has fuzzy tits. It's weird.
He's a dog. It's weird that a hot shirtless dog is fucking Diane. Let's just get over that,
Let's say that right now.
Okay, bye.
It's as weird as Bojack fucking Sarah Lynn.
Diane, has, in addition to the divorce, is working for Girl Crush, a really shallow pastiche of BuzzFeed.
Yeah.
God, I fucking hate the mouse in BuzzFeed. I understand that you're not...
But you hate BuzzFeed. So.
I do! Ah! And she wants to write good shit, and she's stuck writing takedowns, and I hate it. Moving on. Carolyn... Oh, Carolyn gets...
Oh, this is a great episode for Princess Carolyn.
They're
a great season.
She tries, in addition to having a really cool assistant named Judah...
Yes! Oh, Judah! Judah for president! Judah for president! Make me that graphic!
Judah is... He's...
the best.
He's exactly what you get. He's a very robotic, good personal assistant trying to help Carolyn while she gets her romantic life and her personal life in order, and
while owning a business, which she is not prepared for.
And she goes on a huge experience trying to date people, and she meets this mouse
named Stilton.
Named Ralph Stilton, and
he owns a greeting card company.
They hit it off, and they're so cute together.
And it's cute, and oh my god, it is so hard in movies and television shows to make adult dating seem not weird.
And they're so good at it.
These two have chemistry. They're awkward, but not like high school awkward. They're like, oh, I don't know this person very well awkward.
And then you deal with really serious episodes, like the fact that Carolyn has had 5 abortions in her life.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going to make a baby.
Not abortions, miscarriages.
Excuse me.
Those are different.
Very, very different. And it's a big deal for her.
And you get to meet the mama.
You get to meet the mama next season.
Mama Carolyn.
Yeah. Oh, and it doesn't work out, and it's really upsetting.
And they had this really, really weird semi-Jewish festival.
It's a really I don't want to say anti-Semitic, but it's definitely anti-cat.
Yeah. And it's weird.
Oh my god. But that all takes a backseat because Bojack has decided. He hasn't decided. He has to deal with his now senile mother, who was unambiguously a really shitty parent.
Like an absolutely horrible, not only a horrible parent, but an absolutely horrible person.
Oh, and we're gonna tie this into the well, now we'll get to there in time.
I feel like the show creators were like, and you mentioned that earlier, like, oh, can we make Bojack irredeemable? Beatrice, they pull out all the fucking stops with making her irredeemable.
Yes.
But I love that episodes in the season show you why.
We had a very in-depth discussion about a week ago about how they handled the Sugarman episodes. There are 2 of them. One at the start of the season when he goes back to his old family house.
Bojack does.
And he finds out, he gets to live alongside simultaneous depictions of how his mom, Beatrice, got to this place. Her brother or uncle or somebody died in war.
Brother.
Yeah, and
Crackerjack.
Yeah, Crackerjack, and her mother, Bojack's grandmother, got really hysterical about that. And back then, ideas about what women were and weren't allowed to do.
Yeah, and they do hyperbolize it, which is fine. I mean, the show's making a point.
Yeah, but they gave Grandma Bojack a lobotomy, which is upsetting that occurs.
Yeah, and it's so fascinating that after she has the lobotomy, even in flashbacks, you never see her. She's always around the corner, like silhouetted in the darkness.
Oh my god!
It's like they worse than killed her.
That's so upsetting.
Yeah. And a lot of times, the only times you see Grandma Bojack is through Beatrice's memories, and it is amazing to see her at the beginning of the first Sugarman episode, and she's like lively and full of that good Southern charm, while at the still time being like her own person.
Yeah.
And to they again worse than kill her, and it is just heartbreaking to watch.
Contrast that with what a lot of people have said is their favorite episode, fans of the show at least, is Time's Arrow, episode 411, where it's sort of like it's like a reveal episode that you get to find out that the senile old woman, you get to feel what she's been feeling the entire season.
Yeah.
They go into a really disjointed, horrified collection of her memories.
Yeah, and you get to kind of try to experience what dementia is like, which is very upsetting.
You brought up an interesting point that Time's Arrow should not have happened that late.
No. You tried to make me feel for Beatrice after showing me what a horrible person she is.
For 10 episodes.
For 10 episodes,
well,
yes.
3 seasons if we're real.
Yeah, because she flashes through the other seasons. And boy, do you get to see her personality and her son.
Yikes.
But I've already made up my mind about Beatrice, so trying to... And I'm not saying this is what the show is doing, but if it is what it's doing, trying to make me feel for Beatrice by showing me how horrible her past was, I mean, that undermines kind of what I think the point of the show is, and what Todd said earlier to Bojack is like, you cannot just be a shitty person because you went through shitty things.
You're a shitty parent, yeah. I don't have a point here. I'm just bringing it up, and maybe it'll stir discussion. The stuff you see in Time's Arrow, Bojack doesn't get to see that.
No.
So maybe this is just filler for the audience. Maybe.
Well, it's to provide backpill on Beatrice, but that's kind of what, when we had the discussion about Time's Arrow, when we actually saw it, that was part of my thing. It was like, it happened too late. I was like, well, why am I sitting here going through the backstory? I mean, it's cool to understand Beatrice and where she's coming from, but what's the point?
Yeah. I think that given the fact that she dies not long after that...
But not before that great discussion between her and Bojack, which is the first time either one of them are human.
Which one are you talking about?
Where she is staring out. He brings her to this assisted living facility that's just an absolute shithole.
Because, of course, and you kind of relate to Bojack. It's a shitty thing to do, but you kind of want to side with Bojack because she's been nothing but shitty the entire series.
Yeah, like, and not just shitty, like borderline abusive. And she goes through this. She goes to the dementia episode of going through all these horrible things and getting scarlet fever and getting all of her treasured memories burned to a crisp.
Yeah.
And she snaps out, as people in dementia do, she kind of snaps out of it and finally sees Bojack for like the first time, and she's like, what am I doing here? What is this? What's going on?
And Bojack had the opportunity to say, you know, you're a shitty mom, this is where you live now. Yeah. And for the first time in the series, he decides, I'm going to be a better person. And he says, you're on the porch. It's 1970 whatever.
We're at the lake house.
Eating vanilla ice cream.
On the porch. Oh. And she asked like all these questions, like, is the sun going down? He's like, yeah, it's this very beautiful sunset over the lake. And I think he even mentions like, yeah, and your brother Crackerjack is here. He didn't die off in World War II. And he gives her that happy memory for the last time you see Beatrice alive.
Oh, yikes.
Duh.
Oh, that is the last time you see her alive.
Yes.
Ugh. It's such a controversy compared to the F-bomb when they're trying to make her happy in the home to jog her memory, and he says, I'm gonna make her really happy. I'm gonna get her to know who I am, and I'm gonna say, fuck you, Mom.
Mm-hmm.
Which is powerful, because not a lot of people want to vocalize the fact that they have bad relationships with their parents. Oh.
Right, and I don't ever want to excuse Bojack or Beatrice, but I'm like, we go through all of Beatrice's backstory, we see how horrible she is, and we see absolutely every one of her actions reflected in her son. And I'm like, what? You're trying to get me to like, oh, you know, she didn't mean it. No, I'm like, no, you are horrible.
It's upsetting. This show is constantly trying to run the line about I don't want to say nature versus nurture, but it's like, how much of your predisposition is what happened to you? And Bojack thinks it's all what happened to you.
Yeah.
And I don't. It's up for debate, but I think that you can't let your shitty upbringing excuse you.
Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers.
That's so good.
Is the gun control episode. And, okay, the premise of the thing is that they have to cancel a show because it's too similar to a shooting that happened at a mall in California. And before I get really serious, I'm so proud of my wife. I beamed with pride because she laughed the hardest at the joke that I laughed the hardest at, which is Bojack gets off the phone, he walks back into Carolyn's office and says, what are we talking about? And Lenny Turtletop says, we're listening to your dumb friend talk about his solution to gun control. And Paton's got like a fucking whiteboard that says, I'm just saying that if all the people had the right pumped up kicks, they could avoid this kind of a situation.
Yes, if we just had more pumped up kicks. And I'm like, oh my god, you have to pause the episode.
It's so fucking upset.
It was so fucking funny.
That's my favorite joke of the entire series, but I love my wife. Good job. It's such a dark, biting episode because you know what...
And it's the show is almost like making fun of how dark and biting it is, which sounds like an absurdist sentence, so let me explain. Like, there have been gun control episodes upon gun control episodes. There have been, like like, oh, let's poke fun about how normalized this is, and oh, isn't this a horrible situation? The show handles it very, very well, while at the same time criticizing the fuck out of it.
It's so tongue in cheek. I have a hole in my like chin right now.
So like every time they talk about comparing this movie to the actual shooting, they always all the characters have a little but thoughts and prayers for the family.
Oh yes, yeah, of course, thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers. And then they can just keep talking about whatever the fuck they were talking about. Just like, oh my god.
I shared a line that Courtney Portnoy says, and my friend Mike said, "Oh, that upsets me greatly." Is that Courtney Portnoy has a tissue to her eye? She's like, you always see stories about other people's movies getting canceled because of a school shooting, but you never think your movie is going to get canceled because of a shooting. Ugh.
But my thoughts and prayers are with the family.
Of course, thoughts and prayers.
Yes, thoughts and prayers.
As with season 4, season 5 is especially dark. So just to save you guys some time, we're going to start with the biggest elements of levity. Is that the overarching plot is that following all the events, Princess Carolyn has pitched a show called Filbert, from Flip McVicker, who we'll get to. A really shitty, gritty detective story that you've seen.
Your hatred.
No, if you cannot like Diane,
me.
Eat shit. If you cannot like Diane,
I like the fact that you hate him.
Oh my god, he's the worst part of every artist. Eat shit, Flip McVicker. He's produced a really generic cop drama show, and he wants Bojack to be the star. And so they're on that show as the main plot. It's hosted by streaming website whattimeisitRightNow.com, which don't waste your time. It's a legitimate website. And Todd decides that a wacky Todd adventure results in Todd being the head of What Time Is It Right Now?
Well, it's head of ad sales.
Yes.
He's not the president of the company.
And there's a really funny moment in the season's most serious episode where he's like, "Hi, I'm Todd with What Time Is It Right Now? I messed up and didn't realize we had $30 million worth of ad sales to allocate to people. So if you want to buy ad time, we will literally say yes to anything." And he has a side plot where he creates a sex robot for Emily, and it doesn't work. And that's the last time you see Emily. But
so he wants to have this relationship with Emily, but he's asexual, and so it's hard to have a relationship with somebody who wants sex if you don't want sex. So he creates a sex robot, hoping that Emily will then...
You fuck the robot, and then we could just be friends.
And then we can just be boyfriend and girlfriend.
And it doesn't work.
And oh my god.
Hooray!
What is the robot's name?
Henry Fondle.
Henry Fondle. And it's just, he's got a blender for a head. My favorite thing about Henry Fondle, if I may say, is that he's going crazy in Todd's office or something, and he squirts his purple juice all over this painting, and then he just says, "Hooray!"
I'm gonna be a fireman.
He's programmed to say all these weird sex shit, and it just constantly gets taken out of context, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, oh my god, it's so good. Thank you, Todd, for being there for a really dark episode.
And a dark season.
Oh, it's really bad. Diane has now been divorced.
Yes.
They've divorced, and Diane takes a supreme backseat in this season.
Oh wait, we didn't get to talk about Vietnam episode, but that's okay.
Oh yeah, okay. So real quick, Diane has an episode, I think in season 5 or 4, I can't remember.
I think it's 4.
She goes to Vietnam and she refines herself, or she fails to refine herself, and because of that, she finds herself.
Yeah. She realizes like, what the fuck am I doing in Vietnam? But it's put together like a BuzzFeed article, which is really fascinating. So that is Diane. That is the one episode where I really, really like Diane and what she's going through. Still not a fan though. Anyway,
your fidget could like power a small nation. I'm sorry, buddy.
Gosh, okay. Sorry, we're gonna do this now. Apparently, you were not a female in college. You have no fucking idea what dealing with people like Diane is like. Now, I never want to play the anti-feminist card. I believe in what you stand for. I hate what you are. And you're just this self-righteous prick who holds everybody to a goddamn impossible standard, including yourself, which you need fucking pointed out to you because you're too busy trying to save the goddamn world. That felt really good.
I'm really happy for you.
She's so fucking entitled and just constantly poor me, and she dumps all of her bullshit on her friend Bojack, who's going through just some crazy weird shit, who can't deal with your crap right now. Get some fucking self-responsibility. Okay, I'm done.
Dan, I love you. Okay, Jesus. On the other side of the marriage, clearly winning the marriage, apparently, or the divorce, is Mr. Peanutbutter has started dating again, for the 4th time, a very young woman.
Oh, by the way, he did not get elected governor.
Oh, yeah. If you were holding your breath.
If you were holding your breath, he didn't. He lost it to a woodchuck.
That's fine. He's a good dude. Anyway, Mr. Peanutbutter has started dating Pickles, a very young pug.
Yes.
And in a really cool How I Met Your Mother style episode where they go over the 4 different instances of a Halloween party. In each one, he takes a new girlfriend/wife
to the Halloween party.
And they all realize that things aren't working, but are pretending that they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I like How I Met Your Mother, so I appreciate kind of the structure. I love the structural episodes.
Well, and it's good to see Mr. Peanutbutter actually go through some emotional turmoil.
Yeah.
It really adds some maturity to his character, which I think going forward in season 6, you're going to have to really
do something with Pickles.
You're going to have to really turn his emotional maturity up, because people are going to get sick of him very fast.
Yes. And I did an anti-Diane with Mr. Peanutbutter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought he was a piece of shit. And I'm like, okay, you're at least a lovable whatever. I didn't grow to love him, but I'm like, oh, you're okay.
Yeah, well, I had that same arc with Peanutbutter.
Yeah. Princess Carolyn has decided, I'm going to adopt I want to adopt, because
yes, I'm going to adopt a baby and raise it as a single mother.
There's like a whole thing with I'm trying adoption, and it's this whole set of struggles, and
this is especially poignant because part of the reason she and the rat break up, by the way, because they're just end up being all wrong for each other.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that the what's his name, Ralph? One thing that Ralph was really, really pushing was like, okay, if you keep having this miscarriages, can we please consider other options? I want to start a family with you. And Carolyn is convinced that no, she is going to do this. And that's where you get her mom episode, and you get to find out more of her backstory, which is really cool.
That's very nice.
But so now, and can I go ahead and say that the really poignant moment she and Ralph have? So as they're driving to the hospital to perhaps get this baby, she kind of explains why she's doing this, and he's like, what the fuck?
I asked you if you wanted an adoption, and
I just find that really interesting that now that we're broke up, you're considering that. But he, of course, has to play it cool because he's the rich, nice boy. But yeah, there's that really, really tense moment. And I wish Ralph was in it more. I hope he comes back in season 6.
I hope so, too. He was a really nice, solid character for Carolyn to bounce off of.
Yeah.
Which really helped her character, especially in season 5, because you learn in her backstory episode, the Amelia Earhart story, that being infertile and having abortion or miscarriage problems is a very big deal to her.
It's a very big deal to most women.
Yeah. Disclaimer, I can never, ever know the sorrow and the mental situation of a woman having a miscarriage. I don't pretend to. Mm-hmm. I know it's probably a horrifying thing, but she's dealing with that because the first time she had a miscarriage, she had, in her mom's words, Beatrice style, she had made it to the big time because she accidentally got knocked up to somebody who had a lot of money.
Yeah, well, his parents did.
Yeah.
And she was going to be set up for life. They were going to be good for life, and they were going to have this baby and be taken care of on daddy's money, and she loses the baby.
And I feel for you. If any season is a Carolyn season, it's 5.
And see, I disagree. I thought 4 was much more poignant for Carolyn.
Oh, no, I agree. I agree now that you're saying it.
And I remember getting thrown off when you told me that 5 was a Carolyn season. I was like, no.
I was thinking about the Carolyn episode.
Yeah, one episode of Carolyn is the Carolyn season, but season 5, she has very little to do.
Yikes. We didn't talk about Hollyhock, did we?
No, we didn't. Okay,
guys,
stop for a second.
Ready. We've gone through 2 seasons now without discussing a very huge plot point. Bojack gets a call from a young pony named Hollyhock who's about to go to college and says, I want to meet my biological dad. And
we say biological because...
She already has 8 dads and a 7... like an 8-name hyphenated surname.
Yes, these men are all involved in a polyamorous relationship, and yes, you do get to meet all of them in one episode.
That's so weird, but continue. So they have over the course of season 4, while they're dealing with the whole abusive mom, senility, never had to say that word before. Crap.
Senility, dementia, yeah.
Dementia town.
Yeah.
They're like, please say that I'm your dad, and they want to find the dad, and then there's a whole mystery situation.
Yeah. So they try to track down who the mom is, because the DNA ends up being a match. So she and Bojack share DNA. Ergo, Bojack is her father. So they go to try to find the mother, and they end up not really going anywhere. And Bojack has this realization. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I've slept with a lot of women.
And you do find out at the end that Bojack's dad knocked up the help, which is why Beatrice, his mom, continuously calls him Henrietta.
Yes.
Who is the name of the help.
Because she would assume that Henrietta and Hollyhock would be together.
And Beatrice has a flashback, really nice scene where she says, do not give up your life for this baby. You are going to go to college. You're going to become a good woman. Do not give yourself up for this.
Yes, do not do what I did. Because in Beatrice's backstory, you find out that she falls in love with kind of the rapscallion of the socialite ball. He knocks her up, and she decides to keep the baby. And according to Beatrice, that is what ruined her life. Being a shitty person had nothing to do with it.
It is the site of my wife's favorite episode because it's on the record that after season 3 being so fantastically dark, they said, can you give Bojack a couple bones?
Yes.
And at the end of season 4, he has a good relationship with his new sister-in-law.
Sister.
They didn't come out of the same mom.
No, half-sister.
Stepsister and half-sister not the same?
No, stepsister is... Okay, so... you can cut this if you want.
Never mind, we'll cut it.
No.
Welcome back, I've learned. And that's kind of what happens. Do we want to talk about Hollyhock anymore?
No, but I did want to talk about the college episode where he sees Penny again.
This is really upsetting. You don't expect to see Penny again, but there is one... God, back in season 3, there's one episode. In the episode where Sarah Lynn dies, they, in a drunken bender, decide to go visit Hollyhock.
Visit Penny.
Yes.
Who is attending college, and...
Just to make sure that he hasn't scarred her for life.
Yes, because he feels really, really guilty about it. And
as he should.
He doesn't want... He cares very little about her. He just wants to feel better. Which is... Bojack's gonna Bojack. So they go to the college, and Penny sees him, and of course flips her shit. And they're high enough that the time skips, and it ends up not going anywhere. But, yeah.
It's him. It's like if I made a bad mistake in high school and obsessed over it for years.
Yeah, but it wasn't in high school. He was a full-grown adult, and it happened, like, not even a year ago.
Take responsibility, goddammit.
No.
Ugh.
Bojack and a Bojack.
The Bojack scene, the Bojack plot in Filbert, a really subtle setup is that because I guess he doesn't care, it doesn't matter. After shoots, he doesn't take off his Filbert uniform, which consists of a dark undershirt and a beige detective outfit.
Yeah.
And in season 5, because in episode 505, because Carolyn is in Eden, North Virginia or something. I don't know the Virginias, okay? She's got a southern accent. Don't make fun of me.
God.
West Virginia.
No, just keep talking.
Okay. She can't help Bojack do this big-ass stunt, and he gets hurt, and he gets put on opioids. And
that make him feel really, really good.
The opioids begin to take over, and when this was written, the writers of the show did not yet have data that we know today. Right now in the news, there's a big hullabaloo about the opioid epidemic.
Yeah.
Which is that in the late 90s, doctors began
to 2000s
beginning in the late 90s, doctors said it's okay to prescribe opioids as painkillers.
Yep, and that they were getting overprescribed.
Yes, and in just a couple of months ago, they said let's do a survey, and it turns out that the opioid epidemic is a horrible overprescribing of a really addictive chemical.
Yes.
So, knowing that that's real is really upsetting to see Bojack go just. This show
slide down the slide.
Deals with hyperbole in really upsetting ways.
Yeah.
Like you want it to be a hyperbole and it's not.
And it's all too real what he's going through. And again, John and I both have had experiences with loved ones who have addiction. And so to see Bojack do things that you've seen real people do, to see a cartoon character that you constantly see as hyperbolized do things that you recognize is just haunting.
It's upsetting. In a fit of opioid induced madness where he can't tell the yes.
He's going through a withdrawal, isn't he?
No, he's popping them like they're candy. In an opioid induced mania, he can't tell what is the show and what is his house, and it results in just a total disconnect with reality that results in him almost strangling his co-star
/ girlfriend.
Yeah, but that's less important. I think that it's also the F-bomb for the series, where I understood, like, if you get strangled, you're gonna wake up and go, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
It's upsetting.
And you find out in the next episode, Bojack doesn't remember that.
And he begs to see this footage that people took, and it's a little dark for him.
Yeah, well, and he sees, like, because he doesn't remember it at all, and he feels like, he thinks this video is just kind of like, oh, it's a misunderstanding, somebody was filming us act, whatever. And he sees what he did, and you kind of see, I don't know, like, I want to say you kind of see his switch turn on, but you constantly see this switch with Sarah Lynn and with all of his mom and all of the other shitty things that goes on. So you have no reason to believe that this is going to be any different.
So what I see happening is the switch turns on, and in a normal Bojack fashion, he goes to Diane and says, I need you to take out a hit piece on me.
Yes.
I need you to write publicly that I'm a shitty person. And she goes, okay, but it's not going to make you be better and get better. You have to do that yourself.
Yeah, he's like, I need to be held accountable. And she's like, no, the world is not going to hold you accountable.
And in a really, I don't want to say out of place, I don't want to say weird, in a different toned scene to the rest of the series, she takes Bojack to rehab, and he has no idea what to do, because for the first time in his life, he's never had to
publicly say, I need help.
To open himself up to help. And he's like, what do I say? And he's like, and Diane tries her best. She's like, just be your normal douchey self. Tell him, do you know who I am? Please help me.
Yeah.
And
I also love when Diane says that Bojack's worried that what if all this rehab is not going to fix anything? I'm just going to be a shitty person just sober. And she's like, that is a very real possibility.
Well, Bojack, I'll tell you, you can go home and you can try to fix this like you've been doing all your life, or you can go in there and see what they have to say.
Yeah, and this is especially poignant after their fight, which occurs a season before, the episode beforehand.
Yes, very much so.
Which is just fabulous. But yeah, so you kind of see Diane. It's nice when Diane swallows her pride a little bit.
Let's talk about the current events episode. It's not a lot to say. Bojack decides he's going to be a feminist.
Oh.
Accidentally. It's a one and done episode because it's such a good season that to stop and talk about feminism seems like a little bit of a Diane thing.
Yeah. And trust me, Diane is very super non-hap that he is trying to do that.
She is not on fleek with this feminism. Okay, next time. Concept episode is one that I feel like you responded positively to. It's an episode called Free Churro, which is Bojack giving a 23-minute uninterrupted eulogy about his mom. And in interviews, they said, we did this as a response to people who were criticizing the show that despite Bojack having a super abusive mom, he did the good thing in the end. Mm-hmm. We feel like Beatrice got off easy, and it is an absolute takedown of his deceased mother.
Yeah, but takedown makes it sound like, you know, some celebrity beat his wife, and now his photo is all over the internet. No, it's more of this is a shitty person. She had a huge amount to do with why I am the way I am. I don't love her. I didn't love her. She didn't love me. It's not a takedown. It is he is being very real and open about his feelings, which Bojack doesn't normally get to do in a way that isn't whiny and petty.
It is one of the best concept episodes because Will Arnett has a very good performance in that episode. I don't want to give final thoughts about this series because it is being renewed for a sixth season.
Yeah, it's hard to give final thoughts on something that isn't over.
What do you want out of season 6? Because one thing, and this is upsetting to me, what struck me is that how are they going to make Bojack keep being Bojack while he begins to get sober?
I want to see you freak out on Flip more.
God damn it! No! Welcome to being hijacked by Flip fucking McVicker. I understand you're supposed to hate him, but we call this thing a chapter instead of an episode. It's like, who is he being haunted by? Society? Oh, get shit on. I was like,
all your problems with Flip are so similar to all my problems with Diane. You know somebody like Flip. It's not hard to find.
We have because we have nudity, we are progressive and fun. Eat shit. It's like, who is he being haunted by? I told you that joke. God damn it, Flip. Eat shit. Okay.
In a real talk, for going back to your season 6 question, I want Flip to have more of a point. And I know you don't want him to be in the series more, which I totally understand, and you're totally right. I want Flip to be more than a hyperbole. I want him to kind of have a character moment that Beatrice had.
So I'm on the fence. I don't know if he'll come back.
And if he doesn't, he doesn't. But I think that would be an interesting way to take season 6.
Yeah, so Carolyn has to deal with being a mom now to a
Yeah, Carolyn is baby.
I don't know how that's gonna get tackled without.
Well, and I'm really excited for that because she has this like freaking rosy dream of what being a parent is like,
and that'll become its own thing.
Yeah,
Mr. Peanutbutter has to deal with the fact that he's engaged to a very young woman now,
and sleeping with his ex-wife.
No, that's actually gonna be a lot of fun. I mean, not fun for him, but like fun for us to watch.
What?
It's gonna character drama.
It is nice to see Mr. Peanutbutter do something very, very shitty, and feel bad for it. Like he's not the dopey, silly, like whatever. He's just like, I did something horrible, and instead of coming clean about it, he gets engaged. Peanut butter going peanut butter.
Todd, don't ever change.
Don't ever change.
Just be you.
Keep being Todd. Make another sex robot a girl this time.
I don't know what to say. Jesus.
Just be Todd.
Todd, I will believe in whatever you choose to do.
I find I would love more character interaction with him and Emily.
Yes, I feel like you expect 0 out of Todd, and when you get something, you're like surprised.
Yeah, especially when he delivers what I consider to be the thesis of the show.
Oh, it's you.
It's you.
Oh, honestly, Chet Rio, go watch his shit.
Go watch it again.
He picked the honestly the log line of the series.
Yeah.
You can't keep doing shitty things and then feel bad about yourself. I don't have much to say.
Yeah, like I said, I think Ralph coming back would be interesting. Because he has now stated that he'd like a relationship with Princess Carolyn again.
That would be nice.
I don't care what Diane does.
Okay, honestly, here's a real thing. People have... This is really cool, by the way. I don't know if I agree with it, but do you remember in Interior Sub where they had to make up fake names for all the characters? Because
yes.
Okay.
That would be really cool.
She is Princess Diana, right?
Yes.
Princess Diana died while moving through a tunnel in a car.
Oh, and she drives through a tunnel at the end of
season 5.
That's kind of dumb.
It's a little dumb, but honestly, somebody has said, honestly, if the show wants to gain points by permanently killing one of its main cast, Diane is...
I don't know that I agree with that.
I don't know if I agree.
I don't want her to die, but it'd be I don't know.
I don't think this is the kind of show that wants to gain points by killing a person.
No, the show has always gained points by telling good character stories.
It's not like Game of Thrones where you win points by killing people and they're like, oh, I'm going for high score. That's an old thing. Guys, please ignore the weird watercolor animated style and give this a shot. It's
interesting. Well, I mean, if you're here, normally with Day After Podcast, we assumed you've already seen it. But this might be one where new viewers come in. So if you got through season 1 and you're just like, what the fuck, go, at least give season 2 a shot.
Yes, please.
Because it does the show does have something to say, which I can't really give us a lot of compliments for shows of having something to say. You know, that's not things that get made anymore, and I think that's another thing that this show is saying.
Yeah. It's got a lot of similarities with Rick and Morty, and I say that with a lot of hesitancy because Rick and Morty has its own sci-fi element.
Yeah, Rick and Morty is a very different show.
But they are on a superficial level. They're similar in the way that they have very cartoony art styles, but deal with more heavy shit than you would expect.
Yeah, and we're not saying like if you're a Rick and Morty fan, you're gonna like Bojack.
Absolutely, we are making no comments about that.
But yeah, it's a similar like adult animation has done this weird thing of that like yes you can make it for adults, but people still expect it to be funny.
Yeah, guys, that's been Bojack Horseman.
Yeah, 5
seasons by Raphael. Good job, buddy.
There were some great episodes that we didn't really touch on.
Anything you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, if you still haven't watched it, keep in mind there are some really, really funny episodes that we won't spoil for you.
Oh no.
So don't feel like because you've seen this podcast that you've watched the whole show, but this is more a character dissection than anything. So yeah.
Without Todd, what am I gonna say? I'm so used to saying things like, Todd, clean up your shit. And Todd, why haven't you cleaned up your shit? And Todd, who was that guy from Perfect Strangers? No, not Bronson Pinchot, the other one. It's such a well-written show, guys. But thank you for joining us.
Yeah, and it's not perfect. The show is never perfect. But it again, it has something to say.